shocked.
Welcome back, Crackle Addicts. I'm Lupine Fiasco. This is Daily FaB Gameplay, and today we are playing Aurora Shooting Star. For anyone who is new to the channel, what we do here is review replays of games I played on the Talishar.net client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I will talk through turn cycles as if I were taking them now, explaining my thought processes for the lines I would take, and compare that to the lines I did take. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future, taking down paper events, and walking away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the deck I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. If you'd like to engage further, there is a link to my Twitter, to my Discord, and to my Patreon. Without further ado, let's jump right into the action. I ran into another Dash.io and wanted to show this game off because I think it demonstrates how the combo package is maybe a little better against Dash.io for now. But this was an interesting DO build, and I really wanted to go back and make sure on my end that I played it optimally, and already found a few mistakes, which we'll talk about. I am on the combo package into Dash.io for now. I don't think that we can race her straight up, so we need a little extra juice in the Flicker Wisp Arc Lightning combo. Once the Armory deck comes out in October and Dash gets Cerebellum Processor, I fully intend to start playing Balance of Justice, which should counteract some of that draw, make our deck a little more consistent, give us a lot more block value, and hopefully put us into a better position to win. We won the die roll here and are going first. As opposed to my last DO game that I showed to all of you, we are going to play this much more conservatively. We will be putting Gone in a Flash in the arsenal. We are just going to pitch Arcanic Shockwave and Lightning Surge to Grasp to make a Rune Chant, and then we're going to play Sigil of Lightning. So that sets us up with a Rune Chant. It will give us embodiment on our next turn, and if we draw into an instant, hopefully Electrostatic Discharge, we get a nice 2-card 11 with Gone in a Flash. And we do see discard. We also see 2 burn-ups and a Shockwave. So before we block, let's think about what we would like to do for our next turn. For sure, we want to play Gone in a Flash, have it get go again, play Electrostatic Discharge, play another Gone in a Flash for 7. That's a very nice 2-card 11. So we can't block with Discharge, but if we were in some way incentivized to get rid of it, we wouldn't want to do that. We also want to keep Burn Up, because Burn Up on its own is 1, and we are pushing 4, then 7, which are some very nice breakpoints for Dash to deal with, and if we can push that Gone in a Flash through, we're looking at a 3-card 15. How do we expect Dash to block a Gone in a Flash? Once we've played the Burn Up, we're thinking maybe she would give us Crown of Providence and Teklo Foundry Heart to stop the 4. Once we play Discharge and come in for 7, she would have to give us either 3 cards from hand or 2 cards and Adaptive Plating, and if she's giving us Plating without galvanizing it, that is huge value for us. So we want to keep a Burn Up. I would like to keep a second Burn Up to either pitch into Starfall so that we can push that first Burn Up effect through, or say for whatever reason Dash just takes 4 from Gone in a Flash and then gets burned up. We could Arsenal the second one. So we don't have a really great way to utilize Arcanic Shockwave here, which makes me think that I would rather block with it. Now we do have an option to just go super ham, keep this entire hand, play 2 burn-ups, look to push 4 from Gone in a Flash, discharge it, pitch Shockwave into Starfall for 2, and then play Gone in a Flash for 7. The thing is, Dash does have a decent number of 3 blocks in her deck. She has a bunch of items, but assuming she draws well, she can just cover all of that damage. She can cover the 4 with armor. She can cover the sword with a card from hand, and then cover 7 with 2 cards and adaptive plating. And we would have gotten a lot of armor, shut down most of her next turn, but it just seems like we're taking a big chance rather than just getting some block value out of Shockwave and potentially putting a burn up into our arsenal for the next turn. I would like to block with Shockwave if I'm able to. We're not going to do it here. Dash has played 0 to 60, boosted it, it has go again. She has 3 more cards in hand. We could expect her to arsenal one of them. She could potentially pitch one to play an item off the top and fire her gun. So here is where we think, all right, maybe we do want to block this. If we're thinking she's going to arsenal and we're thinking maybe she's going to pitch to play off the top of her deck, then blocking 3 here is the best value we're going to get out of Shockwave. If we just hold it, then we are potentially blocking 3 on a 2-power symbiosis shot and losing value that way. Now, why are we blocking it all? This is a race. Shouldn't we want to be pushing damage? The problem is we can't really use a 4-card hand here unless we play 2 burn-ups. We're pitching that Shockwave for Starfall, and like I said, it's all contingent on something hitting, and we can't guarantee that it will. So I'd rather just get some good value, get that 3-card 15, and then arsenal. Correctly anticipating Dash's line, pitching to play off the top. Spark of Genius here is going to find a Tekla core. Dash does have an action point, so we're expecting Symbiosis Shot, and then Arsenal this last card. And of course, we don't need to block the Symbiosis Shot at all. We might give our Iron Weave just to make sure we get a point out of it before we potentially break it. Blue T-Bone, we are certainly going to block with Iron Weave. And then Symbiosis Shot for 2, we will just take 2 there. The Dissolving Shield is cranked. There are only 2 charge counters on it. So what does that tell us for how our next turn is going to work? Basically, it means that where I said that we might pitch Burn Up to attack with Starfall, we kind of definitely want to pitch Burn Up to attack with Starfall. The Dissolving Shield could just eat Starfall damage. It could potentially block or prevent 2, and then we get Tekla Foundry Heart, and that's when we attack with Starfall. Maybe then we get Crown of Providence, and now our 7-power Gone in a Flash is prompting Dash to either give us 3 cards or 2 cards and Adaptive Plating. She cannot block 7 with a card from hand and Adaptive Plating, even if it is galvanized. A lot of it comes down to how Dash is going to use that Dissolving Shield when we play Burn Up. If she uses part of the Dissolving Shield on the Shock, potentially uses the other charge on our Rune Chant, now we feel a lot better about not attacking with Starfall. And in fact, Dash is giving us 2 charges of Dissolving Shield right now, so our Rune Chant is going to eat the second one, which is really good for us. It means we don't need to plan around Dash just giving us a 3-block from hand and having the extra breakpoint from Gone in a Flash get soaked up by that Dissolving Shield. The Shock and then the Rune Chant are doing really nice work for us on this turn. We start with Gone in a Flash. Rune Chant eats the other charge of Dissolving Shield. Unfortunately, Talishar doesn't do the greatest job of representing that, but at this point Dash has no floating prevention. So we get 2 pieces of armor from her. We are going to play Electrostatic Discharge in Resolution. We will get our go again. Gone in a Flash comes back to hand. Do we want to attack with Sword, or do we want to save Burn Up for the Arsenal? I think we should save it. I think Gone in a Flash for 7 just puts Dash in such a bad position. And as we can see, I agree with that here. She just has to give us way too many resources to stop this from happening, and in fact, she's going to take the full 11. So we are just going to Arsenal Burn Up. Draw into a hand that plays really well with Gone in a Flash. So what we get to do is play Burn Up from Arsenal, assuming Dash does not prevent the shock with Arcane Barrier. Our second strike turns on, so we get to attack with second strike for 4 with Go Again. We get to attack with Gone in a Flash, then blink it for 4, and then we E-strike for 7. So we are threatening a 4-card 15 there, and we also have our Burn Up active, and Dash has very little armor left, so she would have to give us a card plus armor to stop the second strike, card plus armor to stop Gone in a Flash, and then have only 2 cards and no armor to stop the E-strike. So we really want to keep our full hand here. As we start to give up cards from hand, we still have a functional turn. If we block with this E-strike, we second strike for 4 Go Again, Gone in a Flash for 4, blink it, Gone in a Flash for 4. We get a 3-card 12 with that Burn Up active. But Dash can block that. She has to give us all of her cards, but she can block it, and rather than a 4-card 15, we're getting a 3-card 12, so that E-strike isn't getting more value for us on defense. It's getting the same amount of value on defense as it would on offense, but on offense it's presenting an additional chain link and an extra breakpoint. So we really want to keep 4 cards here with our intention of playing this Burn Up and then pushing the on-hit. We might have to readjust as Dash's turn goes on. She has 3 cards and a floating resource, but nothing about this zipper hit says I want to block it, and everything about my hand says I don't want to block at all. So I would really love to just hold 4 cards here. You can see I'm on that same train of thought while this game is playing out. But a Spark of Genius with a cost of 4. So maybe a Teclo Pounder, Induction Chamber. We've got a Disillusion Sphere. So Disillusion Sphere says that anytime Dash would take a single point of damage, that point is prevented. So we're talking about Burn Up, we're talking about, Shock, we're talking about Rune Chants, but more importantly for what we are trying to put together on our turn, we're talking about breakpoints. If we attack Dash with Gone in a Flash, and she blocks with a 3-block from hand, the additional point of damage that she would take is now prevented by Disillusion Sphere. So suddenly our Burn Up play looks much worse. For one thing, the shock is not going to turn on second strike. For another, that 4-4-7 doesn't actually happen. We aren't getting armor from Dash. So we really have to reevaluate what this turn looks like, and what I think this turn looks like is not playing Burn Up. We're just going to sit on that. So that being the case, the best way to convert these 4 cards is going to end up being Gone in a Flash for 4, blink it, pitch second strike to attack with Starfall for 2, and then E-strike for 7. It's a 4-card 13, which is not incredible value, but we are at least converting 4 cards to offense, and we're doing it without needing to spend that Burn Up in Arsenal. Unfortunately, this Disillusion Sphere is still going to be active for our next turn, so we may end up needing to sit on this Burn Up even longer. But we are at least pushing good damage. We are taking Dash's life total low. She's done a good amount of prevention so far, which has done a bit to prevent our damage, prevent us from really pushing big damage, especially this turn. But we're also sitting at 29, and we already have Dash's Crown. We have the front half of Foundry Heart. We're looking pretty good in this game. I do want to back up just a bit. My plan, of course, was contingent on this Gone in a Flash not hitting, because I thought Dash would just give us a 3-block to prevent it. The fact that Gone in a Flash hits means that our second strike is on, and we get to follow through with that 4-card 15 that I had talked about. And so that's why the second strike here is being played instead of pitched. Just was not expecting Gone in a Flash to connect. We'll see if Dash wants to give us some cards. 5-card Dash IO with Techlocore active and a Dissolution Sphere acting as kind of a pseudo-Zen state is certainly not a great position for us to be in. Definitely not when we see High Octane. We've got a T-Bone here. We are going to cover this with Ironweave for 0. We want to preserve that blocking armor. We really don't care about taking 3 vanilla damage here. We care in as much as we would like to not reach 0 life, but there's no on hit, so we are going to save these Greaves to potentially prevent future damage, or just block blue T-Bone. That works too. As far as what is in our hand, let's actually take a look at this. The Dissolution Sphere still acting as an impediment to us playing Burn Up, but Flicker Wisp is going to let us cheat that a little bit, because we play Flicker Wisp, we fuse it, now all of our actions that generate arcane damage generate 2 arcane damage, and if we're dealing 2, Dissolution Sphere can't affect it. So Dash does have an out. She can pitch to Arcane Barrier, she prevents 1 point of arcane, Dissolution Sphere prevents the other, but we are getting cards from her, and if we play Flicker Wisp, fuse it with Flittering Charge, and Dash pitches into Achilles Accelerator, we just don't play Burn Up. Especially if Dash pitched a blue, we just got a full card's worth of value to prevent 1 damage, which is a really good rate for us. We are really up in that circumstance. The most damage we can deal with 5 cards here would be Flicker Wisp for 2, Burn Up Shock for 2, for a total of 4. We Flittering Charge for 4, then Somersault it, so that is 8 total. At this point, we have a decision to make, because Flittering Charge and Lightning Surge don't have Go again. So we can pitch Flittering Charge into Starfall to attack for 2, that's a total of 10, and then we Lightning Surge for 4 for a total of 14. Even if Dash gives us Foundry Heart and Galvanized Adaptive Plating, we are threatening lethal. She has to give us a card from hand to not be dead, but we also have a way to push 2 extra damage, which is to break our Aether Ironweave. After playing the Flittering Charge, we make 2 resources. We put those two resources into Aurora to make an embodiment, so that we play Flittering Charge for the second time, give it Go again, then play Lightning Surge. So we're actually threatening 16. Dash can still cover 4 of that with armor, and then give us a card from hand. She takes 9, she goes to 1, and can potentially deal a lot of damage with 4 cards, but it means that she is dead to another Burn Up. It means that she really has to kill us, or else Rune Chance can kill her. She's in a very bad spot. So I probably want to keep all of these cards. I do get to push at 2 card 8 with Flittering Charge and Somersault, so if it really comes down to it, we can block with Lightning Surge and Flicker Wisp and just hold this Burn Up in our arsenal. But we are pushing a 5 card 16 if Dash gives us space to do so, and so we're going to keep that in mind. The Symbiosis Shot coming in for 2. The gun only has 1 charge left. Dash does have an action point remaining after firing the gun for a second time, and she has boosted twice in this turn, so maximum velocity still very much a possibility. We're just waiting to see what Dash does. Probably going to block with Grasp of the Arknight this turn. A lot of Dash's potential damage hinges on whether I think she plays Boom Grenade, and if she does, can she find one on the top of her deck? It is an interesting question. She does have a floating resource right now, which could translate into a boom grenade. At this point, I'm going to throttle for 4. Dash has an arsenal, 2 floating resources. We are assuming that on her big turn, she's going to put a maximum velocity together. So between throttle and max V, Dash is now threatening 14 points of damage, putting us to 8. Her potential damage is actually 6 more than that. If she plays a boom grenade off the top, that's 1 resource. We take 8 here. If we don't block out the throttle, we go to 14. Dash uses Teklo Foundry Heart, turns 1 resource into 2, plays maximum velocity using 1 of her 2 remaining action points, putting us to 6, and then fires off the Symbiosis Shot, which now has a charge, putting us to 4. So blocking with Grasp does keep us at 6. If Dash breaks the chain to use Teklo Foundry Heart, then we get to block with Grasp a second time. So what I'm going to do here is block Throttle with Grasp of the Arknight. I will not give a card from hand to block Throttle out entirely, because if Dash does have Boom Grenade on the top of her deck, she can play it first, then Foundry Heart. We don't get her if we unexpectedly block the throttle, right? She still just takes her turn, she just does it in a different order. But we are going to block with Grasp here, so that if she does break the chain to Foundry Heart, we get to block with Grasp for a second time and block 1 more point of incoming damage. No Boom Grenade, no item off the top, just max V for 10, which puts us to 10. But 10 is not the danger zone, and if we are putting Dash down to 3 cards, I'm a lot less worried that she can kill us from 10. We will still have a point of armor on our Grasp of the Arknight. With her being at 1, we have a number of 2-card hands in our deck. So I'm feeling pretty good about this 5-card 16, getting armor and cards from Dash. We don't block here. I believe the 5-card 16, given life totals, game state, the matchup, Dash not having cards in her deck that block sometimes, does tell me that I would rather send the 5-card 16 rather than the 2-card 8, because the 2-card 8 does not threaten lethal, but the 5-card 16 does. So this turn starts with Flicker Wisp fusing Flittering Charge, and we're going to fuse with Flittering Charge because that is the first attack that we will be playing from our hand. And we are just trying to hide as much information as possible. We don't want to show Dash this Electromagnetic Somersault and tell her how we are giving Flittering Charge go again. Flicker Wisp Fuse. Dash does not use the Arcane Barrier, just takes 2. Going down to 8, we've got a Burn Up Shock. Dash undoing, presumably to pitch into Arcane Barrier. Pitching a yellow non-block to do it. What does that tell us about the rest of our turn? Well, it tells us that pushing 4, 4, and 4 is something that Dash could block out with all 3 cards from hand. We would have broken our either Ironweave to do that. This turn starts with Flittering Charge. We don't need to make any decisions about whether we're breaking Ironweave or what we're pitching into Starfall until after we play this Flittering Charge. So we're not going to sweat it too much. We're going to let Dash decide how to block this. Adaptive Plating galvanizing the Disillusion Sphere will actually result in Dash taking the burn up, because Disillusion Sphere no longer prevents this 1 point of damage. So seeming like a misplay from Dash, giving us the Teklo Foundry Heart would have been a lot better there, just to prevent that burn up. But even if the burn up was prevented, even if Dash is at higher life total, what is that, 7? The fact that she does not have Foundry Heart and no Dissolution Sphere tells me that this Flittering Charge and Lightning Surge are both going to get cards from her hand. She has to block them out, and she can't. So what I want to do is break either Iron Weave, and I want to make an embodiment of lightning. At this point, if we're just sending 4 and 4, Dash can use a card and armor to block out the Flittering Charge. Dash can use a card from hand to block out the Lightning Surge. She goes to 2, has 1 card in hand. We're at 10, and we draw 4 new cards. The reason why breaking gold is so bad is there are draws in our deck that make this a 2-card 8, right? If we draw Ravenous Rabble, we get to send Rabble for 4, Pitch Charge and Starfall, Lightning Surge. If we draw Lightning Press or Electrostatic Discharge, we get to Flittering Charge for 4 with Go Again, Lightning Press for 7. So we are pushing 11. We're very likely winning the game off that gold draw. But there are also a number of draws in our deck that don't do that. There are a number of reds that don't have Go Again. There are blues that do work for us. But we could just push 8. And the fact that Dash used Adaptive Plating rather than a card from hand tells me that she probably can't block very well from hand. So if we just send 4 and 4, then that is a very safe way to either win the game or put Dash into a position where she can't crack back. So at this point, we are just pitching Surge into Starfall. We're going to Flittering Charge for 4, Arsenal and Lightning Surge. I just don't like this play because we don't have our Iron Weave and we don't have our gold. Gold would have been a really nice way to turn a bad blue into a whole new card and potentially Starfall. So at this point, what are we looking at doing? The second strike here is just pretty bad. Dash is at 1, very likely cannot gain life. So Starfall will, second strike will only ever be 3 because the condition to turn it on is winning the game. We're going to Lightning Surge for 4 with Go Again from Arsenal. We're going to Flittering Charge from hand, use Somersault to get it back and give it Go Again. We will pitch Second Strike to attack with Starfall, and then we're going to attack with Static Shock. So we're threatening 4, 4, 2, 4. The Dissolution Sphere is going to do a lot of work, assuming that Dash has 4 3 blocks. And then we Arsenal Flittering Charge, which is the easiest card in our hand to give Go Again. The reason we cannot Somersault this Surge to retuck the Surge into our arsenal, which is actually the easiest way to get Go Again on our next turn, is that we would not have a way to give Flittering Charge Go Again. If we were to Somersault Lightning Surge, we do have a line where we pitch 2 reds into Aurora and then send 4 and 4. That's only getting 2 cards from Dash. We really don't want her to keep any, so Flittering Charge is our best option for keeping a Go Again attack in Arsenal. We're going to Starfall for 2. Pitching Static Shock, in my opinion, is a mistake. At the same time, it really doesn't matter. Dash has to block Second Strike for 3 anyway. So we get her entire hand. I feel like it was a mistake, but not a game-losing one. Just kind of slightly suboptimal given the situation. We have a really interesting hand here, considering that Dissolution Sphere prevents us from just killing Dash with Arc Lightning. We're not going to block this. If we do block this gun, it will be with Grasp, and we'll go to 9. We're going to use this hand in an interesting way, considering that Dash only has 1 turn left with Dissolution Sphere. What we're going to do with this is we're going to play Sizzle. We're going to pitch Sigil of Lightning to attack with Starfall for 5 with Go Again. Dash has to give us 2 cards because Dissolution Sphere won't cover 2 if Dash only blocks 3, so she gives us 2 cards. We attack with Flittering Charge for 4. Dash gives us a single card. Dissolution Sphere covers the 1. Dash has a card left in hand. We are going to play Channel Lightning Valley in Resolution to give the Flittering Charge go again, and then we're going to use our 2 floating resources to pitch into Grasp and make a Rune Chant. We're going to Arsenal Arc Lightning, and because Arc Lightning is in our arsenal, our next action gets go again. We don't need an Embodiment of Lightning, but we want a Rune Chant to put more pressure on Dash to need to pitch into Arcane Barrier. Maybe she has a blue, she can pitch into preventing Arc Lightning, Rune Chant, the go again from Starfall, but then we're going to probably, hopefully, if we see a blue, pitch into Grasp of the Arknight, and now Dash needs to give us a second card to put into Arcane Barrier. So we really just want to overload her ability to prevent arcane damage, and making a Rune Chant rather than an embodiment is going to be the best way to do that. With just a single card, I don't believe there's anything relevant Dash can do to us. Certainly not when we're at 8 life. So we get 2 cards from her to stop the Starfall, as we expected. We're going to Flittering Charge for 4. Dash very likely to have a 3 block to prevent lethal damage. We see that as well. We're going to play Channel Lightning Valley. Yes, we have essentially wasted a turn of Channel Lightning Valley because we aren't replacing it this turn, but we do have a lightning card in pitch, and it means that we will have a 5-card Arc Lightning with Channel Lightning Valley turn. The on-hit for Channel Lightning Valley is death. The condition to draw a card is winning the game, so this doesn't particularly matter. But say that Dash is somehow able to gain life, or maybe Dash is at 2. Sacrificing a turn of Channel Lightning Valley is really important for setting up for this 6-card hand, especially when we would just be taking an intellect penalty otherwise. Sequencing here has us starting with Arc Lightning. The Arc Lightning is going to give its go again to E-Strike, and E-Strike is going to bottom Electrostatic Discharge. And we want to start with that, because depending on what we draw from E-Strike, our mode will be draw a card. We always have the option to play Entwine Lightning and fuse it with Blink. If we were to pitch Blink to pay for Grasp of the Arknight, or rather attack with Starfall, then pay for Grasp of the Arknight, then we play E-Strike and bottom Discharge, there is a chance that we draw, say we draw a Snatch or another Entwine Lightning, something we can't fuse with Entwine Lightning. We get to throw one more attack and then our turn just ends. We've got Dash sitting on potential 2 prevention. We definitely E-Strike, great call. Dash uses 1 point of prevention for the Rune Chant. Dash uses another point of prevention for the E-Strike go again. Dash gives us 2 cards to block 5. We draw into Current Funnel. At this point it doesn't matter. We are going to Entwine Lightning, fuse it with Blink, and then that just wins the game. There are honestly a number of ways we win the game here. From this point, we can pitch into Grasp, attack with Starfall, we can Entwine Lightning. It really doesn't matter. We do get a red from Dash, and then this Rune Chant wins the game. So I, again, just wanted to go back and make sure my sequencing was on point here. I think it was. I think a lot of those decisions ended up paying off, saving burn up for multiple turns. When we did fire it off, it was a good call. I do think the one area where I slipped up was with the Aether Ironweave breaking gold. That was me tunneling on the idea that they need to be used together, that that's the whole reason. Ironweave breaks, you pay for gold, and it doesn't have to be that way. It can just pay for Aurora, or it can pay for Grasp, or it can pay for Starfall, whatever you need it to pay for. And here we have a situation in this hand on this turn. Say Dash had more life. If we still have that gold, we pitch Current Funnel into the gold, we draw a card, and Arc Lightning deals a point of damage. We turned a bad blue into, hopefully, a better red, and 1 point of damage. And that would have been much better. We cannot do that if we broke our gold when we really didn't need to, when it really is not a 100% to just win the game or at least strip Dash's hand. And on that turn, given that Dash had Disillusion Sphere and I think another item, I think it was Dissolving Shield, Disillusion Sphere in hand, we would have just won the game if we had sent 8 points of damage instead of 6. So I'm glad I reviewed this, just double checking those decisions. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to shock that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free, it helps me out a lot. Join my Discord, that's free. Follow me on Twitter, that's also free. Check out my Patreon, which is free. It isn't free to join my Patreon, but you get neat little bonuses. I'll send you physical tokens. You get the matchup guide for the deck I'm playing here. You get bonus content every week. But whatever you do, make sure you check back in tomorrow for another episode of Daily FaB Gameplay. And until the next time I see you, take care.